Okay, go. Relax. So I want to share with you something which I really hadn't intended to give today. I will get to what I wanted to give today as well, but I want to somehow connect you in a very real way to what's going on at this period of time. And it has to do with Shabbos, believe it or not. It has to do with Shabbos, and being that there are only two more Shabbosos before Tisha B'Av, it would be a good idea to learn the lessons of what these Shabbosos mean. And you'll see in a moment what I mean. The Gemara says like this. It's the Gemara in Tainis, that the Churban Beis Hamigdosh took place Erev Tisha B'Av, began Erev Tisha B'Av, and it was destroyed on Motzoi Shabbos. Motzoi Shabbos. In other words, Erev Tisha B'Av was Ches, was Shabbos. The destruction of the Beis Hamigdosh was on Motzei Shabbos, which is Tisha B'Av. So the Maharal says something which is fundamental, and we have to understand what he's trying to give over. The Maharal says like this: it couldn't have happened at any other time except Motzei Shabbos. The only time the Beis Hamikdash could be destroyed was on Motzei Shabbos. So he explains, Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world in 6 days, and the 7th day was Shabbos, and everything in the world was directed to Shabbos. Everything. The entire purpose of our existence, of existence, was to reach Shabbos. And in fact, that's why we say in davening, Chemdas Yomim Oso Karasa, the preciousness, the desire of the days is Shabbos. You called it Shabbos. You called it Chemdas Yomim. What kind of Chemdas Yomim? Where do we find in the Chumash that Hashem referred to Shabbos as Chemdas Yomim? We don't. But the Mefarshim explain. Chemdas Yomim means it's the desire of the days to reach Shabbos. Also, Karasa Chemdas Yomim. It's the days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all want to reach Shabbos because Shabbos is the goal. Shabbos was the whole purpose. In fact, it says, Ki b'sheishes yomim, ki sheishes yomim aso Hashem es hashamayim v'es haaretz. Hashem created heaven and earth 6 days. But it should say b'sheishes yomim. It doesn't say b'sheishes yomim. It says ki sheishes yomim. He only created 6 days. 6 days. And then was supposed to come Shabbos. And had Adam Arisha not made his terrible error, that from which we are suffering till this very moment, then that's what it would have been. We would have reached the goal. And the goal was Shabbos. So it's not possible for there to be destruction on the way to Shabbos. There's only one exception, one time, that the time is not moving towards Shabbos, but away from Shabbos. And that's Motzei Shabbos. And that's why Motzei Shabbos was the time when the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. Because all the other days are days of building, creating, adding, making, doing, in order to reach Shabbos. The one time that we leave Shabbos is Motzei Shabbos, and that's after the first Chet. It's Motzei Shabbos. Think about it. You think about that. You think, says the Maharal, that's the only time it couldn't have happened at any other time. So there's obviously, we have to talk in terms of what is the relationship between Shabbos, the Beis Hamigdosh, the Mishkan, and so on. And you look at Chumash, wherever it talks about Shabbos, or I say it the opposite way, wherever it talks about the building of the Mishkan, and it lists it more than once, maybe 3 times in Chumash Shmos, it right after that is Shapsosai Tishmaru, it's Mikdashai Tiro, Shapsosai Tishmaru. Somehow Shabbos and the Mikdash are connected. And there are a lot of things we learned from that. We learned, for example, that the Avodas HaMishkan did not supersede Shabbos. You couldn't be Mechal Shabbos to build the Mishkan. And that makes sense too, because the Mishkan, Shabbos was, that's what Shabbos was, the goal. The Mishkan was there to help us reach the goal. So Shabbos and the Mishkan were tied very much together. There are 2 prakim in Tehillim. One is Perik Ayin Gimel, and one I think is Tzadik Beis, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Tzadik Beis. One is, and I've mentioned this, I think, before, Maska Asaf. Asaf was a Navi. Yeah, he was a Navi. You got to look it up, by the way. Go home, open up a Tehillim, get the translation, and look through Ayin Gimel. Asaf is a Navi. Mizmar li Asaf. He was also a Levi, and he also sang in the Beis Hamikdash. Mizmar li Asaf, or in the Mishkan, because he was in the time of David HaMelech, so it was in the Mishkan in Shiloh, and so on. Mizmor li'asaf kematnata yuraglai. I almost went off the derech. We're not talking about, Mr. So-and-so. Navi Hashem. Kemat. Almost. I almost went off the derech. Why? Something bothered me. I had a very big question. Why do we find that tzaddikim have it so bad and Rishayim have it so good? It bothered me. He was saying that it here. Thank you. Oh. All right, the fingers. There should be, when you get to be my age, they should give us a very something to carry around with you that makes your fingers wet. Mizmor li'asaf achtov li'Yisrael kim levari leibov. V'ani kemat natoyu raglai. I almost. And why? Because kinesi b'hoilelim. All those scoffers and all those Rishayim and all those bad people, I was jealous of them. Shlom Rishayim era. I saw how peaceful they are. Kiein chartzubos lemosam. There's no, they're not worried about their dying. Kiein ubari ulam, and their whole health is strong. Ba'amal eno shein nemo. And they don't have the difficulties of regular people. Lochein, therefore, he says, Asabra k'mahine dorbo necha bagadati v'achshava lodas zos amol hi. It was like painful for me. I can't deal with this. Ad avay el mikdash shekel till I come into the Beis Hamikdash. Avina lachrisam. Oh boy, did I understand. When I came into the Beis Hamikdash, I knew. The Beis Hamikdash gave the answers because the Shekhinah was there. And everything was clear. the way it's going to be when Mashiach comes. Clarity of clarities, no questions. There are no questions when you're in the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ad avoy el mikdashei kel. Mili b'shamayim v'imcha lo chafatzti ba'oretz. I want to be with you, Rabbi Shalom. It's unbelievable. This is a Navi speaking, okay? So we have to have a little Rahmanis on all those people that are also having trouble. Maybe not the exact same trouble, but trouble. That's one parak. Then there's another parak, and that's parak Tzaddik Beis. And we say it every week in davening when we're b'Shabbos. Shabbos. Mizmor shirli yom haShabbos, tov lo dos laHashem, u'zamer l'shim kol elyon, nahagid babakach. There's no more mention of Shabbos in the entire thing. In the whole parak, there's no mention of Shabbos. We just start out Mizmor shirli yom haShabbos, tov lo dos laHashem. And then what do we get? They're all gonna, all those that are doing bad are expanding. All my enemies, all the bad people. So he says, until Bifrach Rishoyim Kamo Esav, the Rishoyim are flourishing like the grass. Vayatzitzu kol po'al hayoven, and they're blossoming, all those who do evil. But lihishamdam adeyad, the end is going to be total destruction for them. Ish bar lo yeda, a person who is not wise. Well, no. Uchasil lo yovin, as those and the fool won't know this. What's this is doing in Shabbos? So therefore, it must be that both the Mikdash and Shabbos, yes, are the mechanisms whereby we can come to overriding all the doubts. So we don't have the Mikdash, but we do have Shabbos. And if we would pay attention to Shabbos, really, all the questions are also answered. That's what it said, this parak. And about 400 years ago, there was a Makubal in Tzvas, together with Rizal, the Akedah, and Shlomo HaKadosh, and his name was Shlomo Alkabetz. And Shlomo Alkabetz gave us a piyut that all of Klal Yisrael use to be Makabel Shabbos. All of Klal Yisrael say this piyut, and that is L'chodo di likras kala p'nei Shabbos nakabla, or nakbila, the Svardim say. But they all say this. This is the piyut. This is how we're Makabel Shabbos. The Rambam brings that in order, it's a halacha, person has to get dressed up before Shabbos in his Shabbos clothes. He has to sit down with Koved Rosh. He has to sit and contemplate with a seriousness. Koved Rosh means your head's heavy, right? It means seriousness. Be serious. And wait for Shabbos to come. The Gemara brings down, and the Rambam quotes it in Halacha, that the Chachamim, big Chachamim, would take their Talmidim, and they put on Talesim. And by the way, the Sfardim wear Talesim Friday night, and so do some of the big Rabbeim, the Chassidish Rabbeim. Put on this Atef, put on your talis like you do when you daven, and go out to greet the Shabbos. And he would bring the Talmidim, all the covered Shabbos. You imagine if all of us would do, if this was being done, it would change the whole mood of Shabbos. And certainly the mood of Erev Shabbos, which was known for difficulties. But doesn't stop there. So if Shlomo Alchemist made this L'cha Dodi, and what's it all about? Shabbos. No. There are 9 stanzas, 6 and 3. Only 3 deal with Shabbos. Shomar v'zochar b'dibur echad ishmiyanu kelam yuchad Hashem echad shmo yechad l'shemu tiferes atila. That's the introduction about Shabbos. Shomar v'zochar together. The next one, likra Shabbos l'chu v'nelcha. L'chu v'nelcha. Go, greet. Go to walk towards Shabbos, to greet the Shabbos. Kihi mekora bracha, we'll get to that too. It's the source of blessing. Merosh mikedem nesucha. It was the first thought. That was right before anything was there. So ma'aseh b'machshava tchila, which was last in action, was first in thought. In other words, you wanted Shabbos. In order to get a Shabbos, you had to create a world. So he created it. That's it. One other stanza is the last stanza. And the last stanza is Boi b'shaloi materes bala, gam b'simcha u'tzola, toich emune am segula, boi chala, boi b'shalom. Let's come together in harmony and in peace. Ateres bala, the crown. Gam b'simcha u'tzola, toich emune am segula, amidst all of those who truly believe in you. Boi kala. And that's the end of Shabbos. Hello, what's going on in the middle? You got 6 stanzas in the middle. What do they all talk about? Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha. The Mikdash of Melech, the Beis Hamigdosh of King, in the city of kings. Kumi, get up. Sei, come out. Mitoch ha'afecha. What's it talking about? The Geula. The goal, the end product. Kumitzi mitoch ha'afecha. You know, I've always said, you probably know this, but I'll say it anyway. The Novik Tzvanya says, when he speaks about the coming of Mashiach, he says, Oz then apoch. I will make a reversal. Oz apoch. Likulam likro b'shem Hashem, that the whole world will call out the name of Hashem. The Avdu b'shem echad, one shoulder to shoulder, the whole world will come meet. Yeah, oz apoch. Where else do we have a haficha? You have an ahapachu. But I think it has another meaning too. Normally, you would think that kumitzi mitoch ha'afecha. What does it mean? It's destroyed. It's all looks like Yerushalayim. If you want to really know what we're talking about tomorrow morning, during these weeks, take a look at Gaza. Take a look at what Gaza looks like. Parasham is telling us, I'm giving you here, right in front of your eyes. I'm giving you something mamoshes. It's real. Take a look. That's what was Yerushalayim. So people would think, Kumitzi mitoch ha'afecha, come out from all that rubble that was turned upside down. I think it may be even deeper than that. Kumitzi mitoch ha'afecha is oz afoch el ho'amim. I'm going to take the whole world and turn it upside down. Likro kulam b'shem Hashem u'lavdoi b'shem echad. That's the time of Mashiach. Everybody, even those, excuse me, those asleep wokes will also come to recognize that. All these stupidities. Oz apoch Elohamim, not just Klal Yisrael, Sofa Brua. Likro kulam b'shem Hashem, u'lavdoi b'shem echad. Shoulder to shoulder. Now, that's Likra Shabbos L'chu v'nelcha. Mikash Melech Ir Melucha. He's nari meyafor. Now shake away off, take away the dust. Live she big day sifarteich. Talking about kingship. We're talking about Melech. Shabbos boi netze Likra Shabbos HaMelech. We're coming to, we lost at the Churban, we also lost Malchus. Livshi bigdei sifar techami. Also wear your garments of tiferes. Who wore the tiferes? The Kohen Gadol, l'chvodu l'chavadu tiferes. Listen to what we're saying on Shabbos a little bit. Al Yad ben Yishai. Who's that? David HaMelech, Mashiach, Beis Halachmi, who came from Beis Lechem. Korva nafshi go'ala. My soul is waiting to be redeemed. He's Oireri. Wake up. He's Oireri. Ki ba oirech. The light is coming. Kumi Oiri. You, Shabbos. You, the Beis Hamigdosh. Light up. Uri, Shir Daberi. You know what we're asking for here? Gemara says that the only ones that can truly say a shir are Nevi'im. It has to come from Lamam. That's a real shir, because that's the concluding of a circle. That's a completion of a circle. A shir, by the way, is a circle also, not just a thought. The Gemara brings, if you find money in a particular position, like a shir, and that means in a circular position, yeah, then you can't take it, and even in Rosh Hashanah, because somebody left it there. You know that was done purposely. It didn't happen by itself. Yeah, the world happened by itself, but putting a few coins together, no, that didn't happen. So, shear. And you know why a shear is a circle? Because a true shear can be only said through Nevuah, because it takes from the point of beginning and makes a circle until it reaches back again, the conclusion, the completion. That's why there at Yetzias Mitzrayim, there was Oz Yashir. There was a shir. They sang a song. Why? A shir. Who says a shir? A Navi. What did we lose in the Churban? Nebuah. First Churban already. We lost Nebuah. Lo Sevoshi, Velo Sikomi. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed. Matish toichachi, matami. What are you coming along and coming with wonder? Yossi solayich elochoyich kimsois chosan al kala. Hashem. This is when the Geula. This is when Hashem and Chai Yisrael chosan and kala by Midar Sinai. We got together in the Torah. That's where we know we get married under a chuppah, because we learned that from Midar Sinai. So this is what we lost. This is what we lost. The first luchas for Shteitzach. Yaminu smol tifroitzi. The Gemara says that Yerushalayim is going to spread all over Eretz Yisrael. It's going to expand, and boy, is it expanding! It's being Mekayim right in front of our eyes. Open up. Yaminu smol tifroitzi ves Hashem taritzi, and give praise to Hashem al yad ish ben Partzi. The son of who? Peretz. Who's the son of Peretz? David. I mean, later on. And who's from him is Mashiach. That's all about Geula. So what do we see? There are two things here. He starts out with Shabbos, 2 paragraphs. He ends with Shabbos, a 3rd paragraph. In the middle, he's got everything about the Beis Hamikdash. Therefore, what really is happening on Shabbos, what really we need to be doing and preparing, is Tzipiyah Yeshua. This is what this is all about. Waiting for Mashiach to come. We're begging. We want it with all our heart and soul. That's the connection between the Beis Hamikdash and Shabbos. Just like you know how you would get dressed up if you knew the king was coming? I mean, you wouldn't go in your house coat. I don't think so. Or jeans. Not that you wear jeans, but jeans. Right? A skirt. Okay. Jeans skirt. You wouldn't do that. The king is coming. You get dressed up in your Shabbos clothes, in your finery, in your beautiful, comfortable, sometimes, nice clothing. It should be a recognition that we're going to greet Shabbos. Greeting Shabbos means It could be, it could very well be that the Geula is just that we're coming to meet the Geula. Likra Shabbos l'chu v'nelcha. We have to walk, move towards kihi mikor habracha. She's the source of bracha. Shabbos. All bracha. All. Spiritual, physical, emotional, psychological. It all comes from Shabbos, if we live Shabbos correctly. Because Shabbos was the makor of bracha. That was the whole purpose of the Bria, to get to Shabbos for there to be bracha, because Shabbos is bracha. Now stop and think a minute. The amazing thing is that a makor, a source, like a spring, for example, is a source of water that flows. A spring doesn't move. The water that it produces moves, but the source stays in place. It's not a mobile. We're so used to things being mobile today. We got all kinds of mobile. They go, but and what do? Because we take it with us all over the place, right? But wherever we go, you can't go without a mobile. But the source is static. It does not move. And you know where we see that? In Tanakh, in Melachim, with Elisha, and the widow of Ovadia. Ovadia was killed. And the widow comes to the Navi, Elisha, and says to him, Elisha, the king wants to take my 2 sons as slaves because we owe him money. I lost my husband. I don't want to lose my sons. I have no money. So he says to her, what do you have in the house? And she says, I have a little cruse of oil. That's it. Small little cruse of oil. So what does he tell her? This, by the way, in the Haftarah of Vayera, we read it. You know why? That's how I know it. It's my bar mitzvah pasuk. Anyway, he says, now, you have a cruse of oil? Go knock on doors. Go to all your neighbors. Get as many utensils and as big as they can be. And bring them to the cruse of oil. And start pouring. And she pours. And she fills up 1 container. And he says, Vahamole. And when it gets filled, tasi. Take it away. Put it aside. Then bring the next one. Put it aside. Move it away. Why couldn't she just go around to all, Why couldn't she take the cruse of oil and go there? A bunch of 25, like, fill it up. That's what we would do. No. Because it was a makor of bracha. And the makor doesn't move. Stays fixed. And that's Shabbos. And Shabbos is makor habracha. They can't take Shabbos away from us. They can take Eretz Yisrael away from us. But they can't take Shabbos away from us. We were given Shabbos, and the reason we were given Shabbos is because it's the makor habracha. And not only makor habracha, but it is married to the Beis Hamigdosh, which was the makor habracha for the entire world. You know what it says about Shlomo HaMelech? Shlomo HaMelech knew, let's put it this way. There were arteries coming out of the makom Hamigdosh that nurtured and gave bracha to the whole world. Now, for productivity, of course. And Shlomo HaMelech could grow on the arteries that were going to the different parts of the world, fruit, vegetables, plants, which would only grow in Africa or South America or in Honolulu. How do you know? Well, what do you mean? How could he do that? This is Yerushalayim. We don't have the same. We don't have the same climate. We don't have that. That's not the. How could he grow from what's in South Africa here in Eretz Yisrael? Answer: because he knew where the artery going to South Africa was. He planted it right there. Because it's the makor. The Beis Hamigdosh was the makor habracha. Right. So, once we understand this, we begin to just have a little bit of insight in why the Korban had to be Motzi Shabbos. Because everything else, as we said, moves towards Shabbos. The only time of the week that moves away from Shabbos is Motzi Shabbos. And then there could be a Korban. And it's the Korban of the Mokar. You can't move it, but you can destroy it. And how does it get destroyed? Let me explain to you. Boy. All the tzaras that we have now, all the korbanos, first Beis Hamikdash, second Beis Hamikdash, Beis, Beitar, all comes from one point. When Klal Yisrael refused to go into the land of Shabbos and Bracha. That's Eretz Yisrael. You see, that's what Eretz Yisrael is supposed to be. Eretz Yisrael is not just, it's our land. It was given to our fathers, and it's no. It was us. It's who we are is Eretz Yisrael. What do I mean? You are, you see it, Yotzei Mitzrayim. You came out of Mitzrayim. You say it every night at the Seder, every time at the Seder. Right? Yeah, Chayev Adam Lomar, right? Keilu Shahu Yotzam Mitzrayim. He just left Mitzrayim. I just left Mitzrayim right now. I'm Pesach. What does that mean? That's me. That's my identity. Had those people who left Mitzrayim entered Eretz Yisrael, they couldn't take Eretz Yisrael from us for anything. No one could have touched it. But they didn't want to go in. Bechia, crying. Bechia l'doros. Hashem doesn't punish. He didn't punish us. He didn't cause all these bad things. You know what he did? He said, you're crying now? I'm going to give you something to really cry about. Parents never said that to you. Yeah, you're crying for no reason. What are you crying for? I'll give you something to cry about. The bechi. Crying, because we cried. And that's why we cry now. Because we want it to come back. We want to override what took place. Our makom, our place, was destroyed. Oh, yeah, our place was destroyed. Listen to this. The Gemara says 5 things happened on Shabbos of Tammuz, and 5 things happened on Tisha B'Av. What were the 5 things on Tisha B'Av? Once we get that, we can understand how it relates to the other 5. But let's now focus on this. It was decreed we shouldn't enter Eretz Yisrael. Those people couldn't enter Eretz Yisrael. The first Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. The second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. Beitar was destroyed. And then they plowed the Beis Hamikdash area like a field. What do all these things have in common? What do they have in common? It's not just the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. What they have in common is that when we decided that we're not going into Eretz Yisrael, or we didn't want to go to Eretz Yisrael, or we believed what we shouldn't have believed, we should have had more emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we didn't. We lost our place. You don't have a place anymore. Everything requires a makom. Makom, you know what makom is? It's a place. Ein l'chadavar she'ein lo makom, says the Mishnah in Avos. Makom. Makom is a place. It has to exist within a place. And Chazal say that the word makom, or I think even the Gra brings it down, that the word makom is from the shorish of Mekaye. You exist because you have a makom. Hashem made a makom. He made, and that's what Hashem is called. Hamakom. He is the makom. Now, you want to hear something? This is, I find this so fascinating, always when it kind of, it's coherent and fits together. You take the Yud Kei Vav Kei of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name, and you times it by itself. So you got 10, the Yud times 10 is 100. You got 2 5s in there, so it's 25. So it's 50. So you got 150. You have a Vav of 6, right? 100. And Yud Kei Vav, the Vav is 36. I forgot about the 36, right? 100, 150, 36, and 50, 136 is 186, right? You got that? 10 times 10, 5 times 5, 5 times 5, 6 times 6, you get 186. You follow the math? Fine. What's the gematria of makom? 186. He made a makom. Yud Kei Vav Kei represents makom, existence. Nothing exists without it. Makom. We have a makom. It was taken away from us. Our makom was destroyed. Well, we didn't go into Eretz Yisrael. Meaning, we were born as Yotzei Mitzrayim. We had to go into a makom. We were that Yotzei Mitzrayim had to go into a makom. We didn't go into that makom. That was taken away from us. And therefore, it's not ours. First Beis Hamigdosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, okay, you wanted to come in, the second generation is not the same, but I'll give you a Beis Hamigdosh. And therein you'll know that I'm there and all the wonders and miracles. And we talked about the miracles in the Beis Hamigdosh the other year. Amazing miracles. But it was a bimkaim of our makom. Because our true makom was to be not in a building, but to be in Eretz Yisrael. Number 2. Second Beis Hamigdosh. The second Beis Hamigdosh compared to the first Beis Hamigdosh. You know what it's called? Isarusa de Leila and Asarusa de Tata. The first Beis Hamigdosh came down to us from Shabbos. Isarusa de Leila. His presence was there. The second Beis Hamigdosh is Isarusa de Tata. It started from us. And that's all there was there, just our service to Hashem. The korbanos we brought, our avodah to the Kodesh Baruch Hu in the Beis Hamikdash, our achdus. And that's why the second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed by Sinas Chino. Okay. Beitar. Churban Beitar. The Gemara brings, and my Rambam says it in great detail. There was a melech, a great king, and there were thousands of people in Beitar. It's not like little Beitar here. Thousands and thousands of people. And he was the melech. And all of Klal Yisrael and all of the great Talmidei Chachamim thought he was Mashiach. Bar Kochva. Bar Kuziba. He was Mashiach. Doesn't mean they made a mistake and it turned out he wasn't. He was Mashiach. He was supposed to be the Mashiach. But he did an Aveira and he died. Therefore, he's not Mashiach. If you're dead, you're not Mashiach. Can't be. Would be nice if you could think about finding all kinds of how to make it that way, but if you're dead, you're not. And you know where we learned that from also? From Yaakov Avinu, because Yaakov Avinu thought Shimshon was supposed to be Mashiach. And it turned out he died. And so what did he say when he saw that he died? V'shuascha kivisi Hashem. Okay, I don't have put my hoping you Hashem. But Bakoziva, Bakochla, they thought that this was it. Had he been Mashiach, had he fulfilled his role as Mashiach, what would have happened? We would have right been back, and everything would have been as it ought to have been in Eretz Yisrael with the Olam Haba, with the Tchias HaMesim, the whole bit. So we lost our makom again, and we lost the makom in such a way that no longer can we recognize someone as Mashiach, and we shouldn't until he reveals himself. Should never, ever. Because we see all the pain and suffering that we have had as a result of people claiming to be Mashiach and they were not. So we lost that makom again. We lost our place again. The place of the Geula. We can still hope, and we do hope. And that's why we say L'cha Doidi. But we lost our makom. And then there was the fifth thing. What was the fifth thing? They plowed the Heichal, the makom Hamigdosh, like a field. Yeah? It says, Yerushalayim was plowed under like a field. The Kayim Hashenemar, Tzion Soda Techorish. Tzion is the Heichal, is the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Beis Hamikdash. No! The building is gone. It was burned down. It was a bunch of rubble. What difference does it make that they plowed it under like a field? What's the big deal? So, the Gemara Psachim, I think, says, when Avraham Avinu saw the mountain, the Har, that was going to be the Har Abayis, he says, the Har Hashem Eiroeh. Now, what's our Har? Har is a mountain. Belongs to everybody. Nobody owns the mountains. You don't own a mountain. It's a hefker. I don't mean hefker. It's a Reshut Sarabim. But Avraham Avinu saw it as a mountain because a mountain you go up, and that's how he perceived the Beis Hamikdash. Yitzchak Kara Soda. Yitzchak called it a field. The Yates say Yitzchak l'suach basoda. He davened in the field. A field is more private. You have fences. It belongs to somebody most of the time. Not an open. But I mean, a field that has a fence around it. That's a field. That's what Yitzchak saw it as. Yaakov, before there was anything there, he said, Ki im Beis Elokim, v'zeh shar hashamayim. He called it a bias. So Avram called it a mountain, and Yitzchak called it a field, and Yaakov called it a bias. Our house, the bus. What's a house? That's my makom. That's where I belong. That's where I live. That's where I function. That's where I can become who I am. When they plowed the makom Hamigdosh, they reverted the bias back to a field. Chorash, Harabayis, Kesoda, plowed it under like this. Soda Tekorish. All losing our makom. But let's not be depressed. Because you see, we have one way, or one powerful way, to regain everything. And that's through Shabbos. Shabbos. Yeah. We here, sitting here, no matter where we are. Wherever a Jew is, he has a Shabbos. We can bring it back. That's why L'cha Dodi is so very L'cha Dodi. Come on, let's go. We got to go Likras Kalo. We got to meet the Makor HaBrocha. Shabbos. Shabbos is the time. Shabbos is the place. Shabbos is our place. So when we are in Avelus, because we don't have any of those wonderful things that we have described, we have to know that we're not without a makom. We do have a makom, and our makom is in Shabbos. The bchia, tochino. And as I've said many times, the word boche means to cry. And boche comes from the shorish of nevuchim heim ba'aretz. They're stuck. They're confused. That's when you cry. When they think there's no way out, can't go under it, can't go over it, you can't go through it, you're stuck. What do you do when you're stuck? You're no way out. You can't move forward. That's the point. I can't move towards. So you cry. You cried for no reason. You had plenty where to go to, and you think you didn't have where to go to. Paro said, "Nevuchim heim ba'aretz." That I understand. They had the sea in front of them. They had the desert around them, and behind them they had Paro and his Egyptians. Those who showing. They had nowhere to go. They had nowhere to go. Nevuchim heim ba'aretz. That's true. But we do have one place where we can go that will remove all the problems. And that's the Rabbanu Shalom. The Rabbono Shel Olam, the master of the universe. We turn to him because there is no such thing as no way out with him. Only he can lead us out of the mire. That's where we are. So how wonderful it is when we daven, when being Makabel Shabbos, and we think and we sit and contemplate what's waiting for us, what we're trying to achieve. I have a neighbor, a Teimani, very special man. He's a Kohen and a big tzaddik. When I go to shul, I'm seeing him out and facing the sunset, dressed up in his white garment and looking out towards the sunset and waiting for Shabbos. It's a beautiful thing to see. He's there, Shabbos. I'll close with one last thing. There was a boy that was off the derech, terribly off the derech. And they took him to the Chofetz Chaim, hoping that the Chofetz could say something to him. Fast forward 60, 70, 80 years later, there's this Jew who's sitting in shul, and the rabbi was speaking and saying over this story that there was a little boy who went off the derech, and they came to the Chofetz Chaim, and he took him into his room, and he came out a different person, but nobody knows what he said. So this man gets up and he says, "Rabbi, I know what he said." How do you know what he said? Because I was that boy. So what happened? So what did he say? What did he do? He took his hands and held my hands. And there were tears, coming down from his eyes. And all he said was one word. Shabbos. Shabbos. And it changed my life. Not telling you it's going to work with anybody here. It's not the point. We're not Chofetz Chaims. But those tears meant there's only one way. It's not what I'm going to say. It's only going to come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So he cried. He's the only one. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us. We're coming into the soup. It's coming Rosh Chodesh, the 9 days, the Shabbos. We should use the time. Don't let it be like any other day of the week and then the week of the year and of the month and so on. This is a very special time. It's a time when we can really make a difference. And if we do that together, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I am sure, with all the things that are happening that make no sense, well, instantaneously we'll have all the answers. Hashem Yisbarach. And I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yes,
Baruchim to you. I hope you are all right. Are you okay? And I see that you must have fallen. What?
Last Thursday. Last Thursday.
Thursday. But are you okay? Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Okay.